Alright, so today we're doing 6.3 and it's solving two-step equations. And make sure you guys put your name and this is period 7. And today's the 28th. Okay, the essential question. How do we solve two-step equations? We are not going to graph today. We're going to take a little break and focus on the solving. And then next time, when we come back together, we'll graph them, okay? But today we're just going to focus on solving because they're a little bit trickier. Okay, so how do we solve two-step equations? Now, in order to solve two-step equations, what's going to happen is you're going to use two operations to solve it. So put two different operations. Operations are the things like multiply, add, subtract, divide. Just like you saw in the video. Two different operations are needed to solve. Okay, so we have add, subtract, multiply, divide. Those are operations. And then in the video he also said to work in reverse order of operations. Did you guys hear him say that?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you forgot what the order of operations were, some people learned PEMDAS, but I said to use GEMS because it's better. So G-E-M-S. G is for grouping, like parentheses, or he talked about on the fraction, like the top is one group and the bottom is another group. Did you guys remember that?
No.
He like highlighted them and said, yeah, the numerator is like a group and the denominator, even though there's no parentheses there, it could still be a group. Exponents we're not going to use in here, and you will use them in 8th grade to solve, but we're not going to use them on our equations, so you don't have to worry about those. The M stands for multiply or divide, right? So mult or divide, and S stands for subtract or add. So we're going to work in reverse order, meaning we'll do the add, subtract stuff first, and then we'll do the multiply, divide stuff, and if there's a group, we'll deal with that last. Okay? So let's go into example 1. Example 1, we have a real simple one. 2x plus 3 equals 9. 2x plus 3 equals 9. So if we're working in reverse order of operations to solve for x, that means we have to add or subtract first. So over here I have an add 3. This is on the same side as the x. That's the side I want to work from. So if I have an add, the opposite would be to subtract. So subtract 3. So now I just have 2x equals what? 6. Good. And then divide is next. You guys know this. Divide by 2. So x should equal 3. Okay? So step 1, we're going to write the steps out. Step 1, we subtract, right? Step 2, we divided. And what do you think we're going to do in step 3?
Add.
Check. Okay, so we take the 3, I'm going to circle this, what we got for our answer. Plug it back in up here. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 3 is 9, so it works. Okay? Yes?
What's the difference from like the problem we just did and like what we just did like last week, and then what's the difference?
So last week we didn't have the second step, so we might have just had 2x equals something, or maybe we just had like x plus 3, you know? So now, because we have to do 2 steps to get x by itself, that's the difference. Okay? Alright. Example 2. Example 2 is easy too. We have 3x plus 2 equals 23. Very similar problem, right? What's step 1? Subtract. I'm not going to write out the steps again. You guys can see. So we subtracted 2 here. So that means we have to subtract 2 here. So we get 3x equals
21.
good. And then what do we do? Divide by 3. See, these are pretty basic problems, right? They're not going to stay this simple. So when we divide by 3, we get x equals 7, and we should check. So let's plug it back in here. 3 times 7 is 21, plus 2 is 23. Easy?
Hold on. Wait.
Alright, so we've done like really basic problems here, but we probably should do one with a fraction. Don't you think? Just to be safe? Okay, so example 3. We have 4 plus 1/5 r equals -1. Okay, so the only thing I've really done is I've added a real simple fraction, but everything else is pretty easy. So we look here, we want to do reverse order, so that means we have to get rid of this 4. We have to subtract it because it's a positive 4, right? Subtract the 4 from both sides. Do that first. So now this 4 minus 4 is 0. That's done. We have 1/5 r equals what? -5. Good. Remember, when you have two negatives, add them together and keep them negative. Now, we did a bunch of these problems last week where we had a fraction. Do you remember what we did to clear the fraction?
Multiply the denominator.
Multiply by the reciprocal. Good. Because if we multiply the reciprocal here, this is gone, right? So whatever you did there, you got to do here. So what's -5 times 5? Okay, should we check? Probably. So plug it back in here. What's -25 over 5?
4, 5.
-5, right? 1/5 of that. And 4 plus -5 is -1. Questions? Michael?
Yeah, I thought we were supposed to subtract from both sides. Remember that was supposed to be variable.
So on two-step, what you do is you're kind of doing the one with the variable last, huh? You notice that? Yeah. So on two-step, because this with the variable means multiply, and we do add or subtract before we do multiply or divide, according to this. Yeah. But you're right. When we were doing one step, we were just dealing with the one with the variable. Yeah. Good question. Other questions? No? Okay. All right. So on this one, our steps were different. Let's write them out. We subtracted, and then what did we do? Multiplied. Yep. So a little bit different. Okay? And then obviously we checked. So now these problems that are simple, you could do these in your head to check. But as they get bigger, you might want to write them out, fill in the blanks. Okay. So let's do a you try. You try number 1. You have 2x plus 4 equals 10. Try to solve that. Make sure you check before you raise your hand. Oh, some people are fast with this algebra stuff, huh? 4 of you? Okay, what do you guys think it is?
3.
3. Raise your hand if you think it's 3.
I'm not even done.
They're super fast. This is what they did. They did subtract 4. And then they had 2x equals 6. And then they probably didn't even write this because they just did it in their head, right? X equals 3. And plug it back in. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 4 is 10. Let's do another you try.
Can we do the fraction one?
Maybe later.
Okay.
We're going to do lots of fractions today, so just wait for it. 5 equals 2 plus 3x. Okay, what do you guys think it is?
0.
Oh, I heard some zeros. I heard some ones.
1.
If you plug in 0, would that work? No.
No, it'd be 0.
Yeah, it'd be 5 equals 2, which isn't right. Okay, so here's what you do. We're working on the side that has the variables. So we subtract 2. That's 3 equals 3x, and then you can see it's just 1. And now you plug it back in. 2 plus 3 times 1 is just 3, right? 2 plus 3 is 5. Okay? Now, there's this really cool shortcut to do multiple step equations. I'm going to show you guys in another class, not today. Because some people might figure it out on their own. I don't want to ruin their fun, right? You might go home and think about it. But there is this really cool shortcut. And I didn't learn it in college. I learned it later. But it's really fun. It makes it even easier than this. And then you'll go, why did she teach us this that way? Well, you need to understand the steps to understand the math, okay? But once you get the shortcut, I don't care if you use it. All right, let's do the next one because I think Melena asked for fractions. So thanks, Melena. Example 4.
Example 3.
Really? Check again, people.
Example 4.
All right.
Oh, example?
All right, 3. Now we're going to do something in parentheses. X plus 5 equals 45. 3 on the outside, x plus 5 on the inside equals 45. Okay, raise your hand if you think that we should distribute, because you learned distributing already, right? Anybody think we should distribute here? Like rainbows?
Yeah.
Okay, if I do rainbows, am I going to have more than 2 steps?
Yeah.
But the title of this is 2-step, and the EQ is how do we solve 2 steps. So do you think I should do the rainbows?
No.
No, there must be a better way.
Yeah.
What's the better way?
You divide it by 3.
Divide both sides by 3. How cool is that? So put a 3 under here. Put a 3 under here. This is gone. Now we have x plus 5 equals 15. Why are we allowed to divide by 3? Why does the math work that way? Who knows? Why does it work? Like, why can I do this? Why, Nolan?
Because in gems, grouping is first.
Okay.
Do order of operations in reverse.
Okay, good. So what are we doing here when we're doing 3 and then parentheses? What operation is this?
Dividing.
Multiplication.
Multiplication, and the opposite of multiply is?
Divide.
Dividing. So that's why we can do this. Okay? This 3 is multiplying this x plus 5 as a group. And the reverse of, or the opposite of multiply is divide. Okay, now that we have x plus 5 equals 15, what do we do with this 5?
Minus 5.
Minus 5 from both sides. X equals 10. You can easily plug it back in and check, right? You can go 10 plus 5 is 15 times 3 is 45. So what steps did we do here? Well, the first thing we did was we divided. And the second thing we did was subtract. And the third thing we did was check. Any questions on number 4 here? It's okay? Alright. Example 5. We'll throw in another fraction. So we have 1 over 4 times x minus 3 equals negative 15. 1 over 4 times x minus 3 equals negative 15. How do I get rid of this 1 over 4?
Divide by 1 over 4? No, wait. Divide by 4.
Multiply by the...
Reciprocal. Oh.
Good. So if I multiply by the reciprocal on this side, the 1 over 4 is gone, right? Cross it out. So now over here I have to multiply by 4 over 1. Okay, so let's rewrite this. We have x minus 3 equals, what is 15 times 4? What is it?
6.
Good, and don't forget the negative is on that 15, so you write the negative. Now I have x minus 3 equals negative 60. What do I do next? Step 2. Add 3. So x equals negative 57. Because you have negative 60 and you add 3. Alright. Should we check?
Yeah.
Probably, because that looks like a weird answer, doesn't it? Like all our other answers have been nice and pretty. So let's check and let's actually plug it in. So up here, right, 1/4 times negative 57 minus 3 equals negative 15. Yeah. Sure. So what is negative 57 minus 3? What is that?
60.
Negative 60.
There's no way
Where this is the check part. Okay. So what is 1/4 of negative 60? Negative 15. And it works.
Oh my god.
Okay, so step 1, it was right here. Multiply, and I'm going to put by the reciprocal so you know what I did. Step 2 was right here. Add 3. And then we did a check. But here's our answer here. Negative 57. Now, all the other ones I said just do it in your head, right? Like 10, plug it in, you got it. But here, it's getting a little more complicated. So that's why I said it's a good idea to write it out when it gets to complicated numbers. Okay? Now, on the quiz, I haven't graded all your quizzes, but I graded other classes, and I can definitely tell who didn't check their answers. Because on that first page where you got an answer and all you had to do was plug it back in to make sure, the people who didn't check missed a bunch of those. And the people that I saw they had a little bit of chicken scratch there to check, they got them right. So that was easy 6 problems to get and easy 12 points on the first page. Right, Melina? But people didn't check. So their grade suffers. So you guys should always be checking this. Alright, let's do a U-try. Last problem here. So we did 2 U-tries. This is our 3rd U-try. And we're going to do 2 times x plus 4 equals 20. Two times x plus 4 equals 20. I'll give you a little bit of extra time. Just raise your hand when you've checked and you know it's right. Hey, what do you guys think it is? 6. You're right. So, step 1 was to divide out the 2. So now we have x plus 4 equals 10. Then we subtract the 4.
Oh.
X equals 6. And we should plug it back in. 6 plus 4 is 10 times 2 is 20.
I need to 30 seconds more.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more. Who got that right, though? Good job. You're so smart. I love it. All right. We are going to do some worksheets for practice now.
Oh, so fun.